Today, we are diving deep into the world of Caspar David Friedrich. You probably know him. He's the absolute master of German Romanticism. His paintings are these moody, incredible landscapes that just make you feel something, right? But what if that feeling isn't just some artistic magic? What if it's actually math? Yeah, you heard me. Let's get into it. So this is probably his most famous piece, Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog. When you look at it, you get this huge sense of awe, maybe a little bit of loneliness, that feeling of the sublime. But here's the wild idea I want to put out there. That powerful feeling isn't an accident. It's engineered. It's built on a hidden blueprint. Now, before we start pulling out rulers and protractors, we have to really understand the effect he was going for. So first, let's just soak it in. Let's get lost in that powerful, atmospheric world Friedrich is so famous for creating. I mean, just look at this one. The abbey in the oak wood. You can practically feel the chill in the air. Those gnarled, twisted trees look like skeletons, and that ruined abbey just screams of a long-forgotten past. Friedrich was a genius at this, using nature not just as a pretty background, but as a giant mirror for our deepest emotions, melancholy, reverence, and, yeah, even our own mortality. And then you've got this, the sea of ice. Whoa. Here, nature isn't a mirror, it's a monster. It's this overwhelming, terrifying force. You can just barely see the wreckage of a ship, completely crushed and swallowed by the ice. This is the very definition of the romantic idea of the sublime, where beauty and pure terror get mashed together, reminding us just how tiny we are in the grand scheme of things. So you have to wonder, where does all this darkness, this intensity come from? Well, to really get the art, you kind of have to get the artist. And Friedrich's life, it was not an easy one. His personal experiences absolutely shaped the world he put on canvas. Friedrich's life was really bookended by loss. His mom died when he was only 7. A few years later, his brother died in a tragic accident. And even though he did find some happiness later in his marriage, his final years were tough, marked by a major stroke that pretty much ended his painting career. It was without a doubt a life lived in the shadows. And you can literally see the toll it took on him right here. On the left, we've got a self-portrait from around 1802. He looks thoughtful, maybe a little sad, but still young. Now look at the one on the right, just 8 years later. The man staring back at us is intense. He's hardened. His eyes are just piercing. That's the face of someone who has seen some serious darkness, both out in the world and inside himself. And all of this brings us to the real heart of our question today. We've felt the emotion in his paintings, and we know about the personal tragedies that fueled them. But was it all just raw feelings splashed onto a canvas? Or was Friedrich secretly using a blueprint to construct these feelings inside of us? Let me just ask you straight up. What if there's a formula for awe? A hidden structure, a kind of emotional recipe that guides your eye and your heart without you even knowing it's there? Okay, look at these two pictures. On the left, you've got the crushing loneliness of Friedrich's Monk by the Sea. It feels huge, empty, pure emotion. And on the right, a simple parabola, a shape defined by cold, hard mathematical logic. What in the world could these two things possibly have in common? All right, it's time to decode the canvas. We're going to pull back the curtain now and take a look at the hidden geometry that might just be the secret to Friedrich's genius. The secret really starts at this idea that a lot of artists were using back then. It's called the Bühnenschema, which basically just means stage schema. The whole concept is to build a painting like you'd build a theater set, with clear layers that create depth and pull the audience, or the viewer, right into the scene. So to really get this, we're going to take a quick detour from Friedrich for a second. Let's look at this classic example by Richard Wilson. His painting of Mount Snowdon is like a perfect textbook illustration of how this whole stage schema thing works. So the stage is set in layers, right? The very first layer is the stuff in the foreground. See the dark trees and rocks on the sides? Those are called repoussoir elements. Their whole job is to frame the picture, just like curtains on a stage, and to push our eyes deeper into the painting. So put simply, a repoussoir is just an object an artist sticks in the foreground to create depth and tell your eye where to go. It's like a visual signpost that says, hey, don't look at me, look past me. It's a classic trick of the trade for controlling where you look. Then, behind that frame, you get the middle ground. These are the Kulissentile, and they work exactly like the wings on a theater stage. You can see how the hills are layered one in front of the other. Each layer just pulls our eyes further and further back, creating this incredible illusion of deep space. And all of this, the frame and the wings, it all leads you to the prospect. This is the background, the main event. It's the distant view that the entire painting is designed to make you look at. In this case, it's the peak of Mount Snowdon itself. Okay, so that's the technical formula. But here's the thing. Friedrich was never just a technician. He famously said, the artist should not only paint what he sees before him, but also what he sees within him. He took this technical stagecraft and turned it into a tool to paint his own soul. Which brings us all the way back here, to the monk by the sea. So what if Friedrich took that whole stage schema and just broke it? What if he ripped out the foreground, the repoussoir, and got rid of the middle ground wings entirely? What if he left nothing but a vast, empty prospect, the background? And what if he secretly structured that huge emotional emptiness along the invisible, perfect curve of a parabola? What if there's a geometric order underneath all that emotional chaos? Now, this whole idea of using powerful, almost geometric compositions to make people feel a certain way, it wasn't just some dusty 19th century trick. Friedrich's method was so incredibly effective that you can still see its echoes today in some pretty unexpected places. Just get a load of this. On the left, you've got Friedrich's Moonrise by the Sea. See that super stable, pyramid-like shape the people on the rocks make? They're looking out at a calm sea. It feels solid, secure. Now look at the right. That's an insurance ad from 1993. The composition is practically a carbon copy, and the message they're selling is exactly the same. Stability, security, peace of mind. They are totally using the Friedrich playbook, whether they even realize it or not. So what this really tells us is that Friedrich's genius wasn't just about painting his feelings. It was his incredible grasp of a hidden visual grammar, a language of shapes and structures that talks directly to our subconscious and makes us feel things like stability or awe or terror, whether we're standing in an art museum or just flipping through a magazine. Which leaves us with one last big question. Now that you've seen the blueprint that might be hiding behind the emotion, does it change how you feel? Does knowing how the magic trick is done make it any less magical? Take a look at this painting, Chalk Cliffs on Rügen, with its perfect geometric framing of the view. Does seeing the structure behind the sublime make it feel less powerful? Or does it maybe make it even more amazing? That's something only you can decide.